What's going on, guys? It's K-Dub here with another episode of Crypto Zombie. So today is Friday. That's right. It's the weekend. We made it. Congratulations. Bitcoin is pumping, but you will notice there is a lot of red in the markets, even though Bitcoin is up 3%. And this is exactly what I wanted to talk about. And I'm not trying to create FUD. In fact, this is something very concerning, something that actually concerns me personally. And I want to talk about it because we recently had the news from Binance basically saying that they're going to give the boot to U.S. citizens. Now they're going to have another exchange that's coming out. We're going to get into that, but I want to talk about it. I want to discuss whether or not this is actually a good thing and what could potentially happen. Are we going to see more blood in these altcoins in response to this? So obviously not trying to FUD, definitely just want to have a discussion today, want to talk about it. This is something that I'm very concerned about, and I think it's actually kind of ironic considering yesterday's topic was, do altcoins still have the potential to 100 to 1000x in 2019 and 2020? Well, could this potentially be throwing a wrench into the gears? We're going to get into that today, and if that sounds good to you, well then you know what to do. Also, if you're new to the channel and you're not subscribed yet, what are you waiting for? We do this every single day, and don't forget on Mondays we have our Ledger Nano S giveaway. All you have to do is drop a comment on literally any video and you are good to go. Now, as we can see here, Bitcoin doing quite well. A lot of the other altcoins not doing as well. Now, as we can see right here, I'm going to give this a quick refresh live, and I want to point out to the fact that, oh, it switched to night mode. Very nice, very nice. Okay, night mode it is. So you can see that Bitcoin is up to 56.3% Bitcoin dominance, okay? So this is up over 1% in just the past day. You can see Bitcoin is in the lead at 3%. Not a lot of these other coins are actually following. Most of them are in the red. In fact, if you want me to make it even worse for you, I'll switch it to the Bitcoin comparative. They're basically all in the red for the most part, with the exception of some stable coins and a few coins that pumped. We obviously had Chainlink news, but even that, Chainlink was up to, I think, like 80% at one point, and now you'll see it's actually back up to only around 28%. We also have Hypercash, Elf, Energy, Mixin, KuCoin shares, VestChain, Crypto.com, and that's it. That's it. Everything else is in the red as far as the Bitcoin comparative today. So we're going to talk about what is going on. Really quick, let's have a look at Bitcoin. So guys, I mean, hey, look, I knew we weren't going to get to the very end of the wedge. Remember we said that? I said Bitcoin is a little bit of an impatient asset. It's not going to get to the end. So as we got into this zone, we did, we broke resistance, so this is good. Now, if we move over here, I do want to note the fact that we had this resistance back here that happened on May 14th, and we broke above it. So that was $8,375, so this is good. Now, we're not sitting above it by much. We're only at around $8,396 currently. This is actually over on Binance. I just have Binance pulled up right now. So I would like to stay above this level for maybe, a day, an extended period of time, actually put in some sideways movement above this level, and then I would consider that to be very bullish. There is that potential chance that we fall back down into the green area that we spoke about yesterday as well, but let's hope that we stay above the purple, right? That's something positive to look forward to. The negative thing that everyone was saying was the CME gaps being closed. Right here, you could see we had a gap on May 17th, where we jumped from around 7,200 all the way up to, we had a high wick, but if you look at basically what we didn't close, it was up to 7,894, but we were able to take care of that around this region. What we did not take care of was this box right here. So is there a potential chance that we could come back down and retest those lows? Well, a lot of people were talking about this head and shoulders pattern. You may argue that this was the shoulder down here, but we may also be forming just a larger shoulder. Now, you guys know, if you've been following the channel for quite some time, head and shoulder patterns are not my favorite patterns. I don't really like them very much. They don't usually play out the way that you think they're going to, but if we're going to be looking at traditional signals, then we can say head and shoulders. But the thing is, that being said, are we actually going to continue the breakout? Was this the shoulder, or are we just forming a giant shoulder? And are we going to actually retest these lower lows and finally close the CME futures gap. I'm not saying we're going to do that, but I want to be realistic here before we start becoming just moon Lambo boys again, all right? I do believe Bitcoin is going to 300,000. You know that, guys. We're going to the moon long term, but I mean short term, we may still have a potentially bumpy ride, but as I said, right now, as long as we hold above this level, which, guys, look, we're already pulling under it. We wicked up to 8,452. Yeah, look, we're already going back below it. So listen, I'm not saying anything, but there is a chance we may fall back down into this region, even maybe just between these 2 points and just sort of bounce around sideways. But we'll keep our eyes on it, right? You know how fast these markets change. Now, moving on, the one thing I did want to say is also, from a positive standpoint, we were talking about the potential chance of an ascending, broadening wedge. And the reason that I brought this up was actually for 2 reasons. One is because Litecoin was actually it currently is putting in one, okay? And we've seen the way that Litecoin's been behaving. And also, just to point out what we did back here once we had that April 1st, technically on April 2nd pump, we put in a little bit of a mini broadening wedge as well. And we had actually spoken about that specifically on the channel and said that they usually do have a little bit of a quick breakdown, but then they go up. And you can see right here, we started to go down and then we went up, right? So we may have a potential situation on our hands where we can ignore all of this and we might just continue upwards towards, 9,300, 9,400, right? And obviously the level that we need to get above is that 9,900 level. But I also wanted to just point out something that I was reminded of again, because I was on Twitter this morning and Josh Rager had pointed this out. Almost forgot about this, but something really, really positive to keep in mind is short term, we may have some turbulence in the markets, but I want to look at this 7-year trend line that we've put in. Now, this has been going on for 7 years here, and you can see it's been holding quite steady, okay? So obviously, Bitcoin never fell below this. Ever since it popped up in January of 2013, we've literally, even when we had, this rally, we dumped this major bull rally, and then we came down and we did this sideways accumulation as we call it, but we were still rallying. We were still going up in price. It just wasn't as parabolic as what we saw, November of 2013 and obviously December of 2017, but only up until November recently did we dip below that. And I mean, we only stayed down there, up until May, and now we are back above it again. So, kind of zooming in on that, as long as we can sort of stay above this line right here, guys, I think that still puts us in bullish territory. So I'm just pointing that out. So as long as we stay above this, I would still consider us to be in the clear. And the fact that we've also been above the 200 weekly moving average, we've talked about that tons of times on the channel. I also think that is a very positive thing moving forward. Now, talking about some quick Bitcoin price action, and then I want to get into the real serious part of the video, which I do recommend, especially if you're a US citizen, you stick around and watch because it's very important that you understand what is going on. But I want to really quick talk about the former managing director, head of financial market research at AQR Capital. Now, he's saying that he could see Bitcoin reaching 60,000 to 40,000, during the next run. But according to him, he says there are 2 factors that suggest another massive rally won't happen in the near future. He's thinking it's going to be more of a slower kind of grind. In fact, sort of what we've been doing, which is just sort of slowly grinding, have a little pop and go sideways, right? So basically, he says that Bitcoin's volatility relative to the S&P 500 is currently negative 0.2, which is actually a historically low level. So this combined with changes in Bitcoin's options market have him thinking that a big Bitcoin bull run is not quite on the deck anytime soon as far as the major parabolic skyrocket. But he does say that his best guess for the summer is that Bitcoin's price movements will be based on fundamental news rather than a parabolic rise fueled by collective fear of missing out. I know some people out there seem to think that the news doesn't matter. It does matter. Okay, there are events that will, yes, we could look at charts all day, but there are black swan events. I mean, if Donald Trump came out today and said Bitcoin is banned in the US, you don't think that chart would look a little bit different after he said that? Technicals or not, I do think that it would make a big difference. And also I wanted to just talk about Grayscale. We've talked about them before. They're buying, 21% of the Bitcoin that's coming out essentially from the miners. I mean, they're really loading up on this stuff. We talked about how they've been accumulating. They have $2 billion in assets under their management, and they said that it may be far-fetched to expect investors to rush into crypto positions, specifically mentioning these trade wars that are going on. Are people going to hop into Bitcoin maybe as a potential asset to combat that? Well, it looks like they're already doing that. Just going to say that, pointing it out. But you can see right here, they actually had a report and they said that with continued adoption, Bitcoin represents a transparent, immutable, and global form of liquidity that can provide both wealth preservation and growth opportunities. As a result, we believe it deserves a steady strategic position within many long-term investment portfolios. And this is what you're seeing people recommend. You're seeing actual financial advisors. I'm not a financial advisor. You guys know that, right? Never take financial advice from this guy. But there are financial advisors out there right now that are financially advising their customers to buy Bitcoin, okay? So that is something that I want to point out, and that is basically the word that's being spread. So this is a good thing. That's the positive news. Now I want to get into the bad news, and there is bad news today. I think this is bad news. You can flip it however you want. Short term, it's going to be difficult. So basically, it says right here, Binance terms of use. You could see this was last revised today, June 14th. Now, if we scroll down here, and I love how subtle they did this. It was just, they kind of just put it up there and said, hey, Binance terms of use, check it out, right? So you scroll down here all the way to prohibition of use, and right here, black and white, Binance is unable to provide services to any U.S. person. So that means me. That means you, if you're a U.S. citizen. I know about 40% of my channel is U.S. based, so I know at least 40% of you out there are very interested in this moving forward. Now, talking about this, Binance CEO, CZ, he called the new company Binance US or BUS, and together they form BAM US. Some people are thinking maybe BAM stands for Binance America. So basically, this company, BAM, is registered as a money transmitter and is located at an address occupied by COI compliance, according to the MSB filing. You can see right here, by teaming up with BAM, the exchange will be able to effectively license out its technologies to U.S. partners who are fully regulated with FinCEN approval. CZ also said, we are excited to finally launch Binance.us and bring the security, speed, and liquidity of Binance.com to North America. Binance.us will be led by our local partner, BAM, and will serve the U.S. market in full regulatory compliance. Now, you can see over here, this is BAM. It looks like they joined Twitter April 2019, so it looks like this is something that's sort of been known. This is something that they were anticipating, I assume, in the background. Now, as Alexander put out on the 12th of September, because basically that is that's the time from the time this was put out, Binance will not accept US anymore, which means you need to get off. Basically, they said that you'll be able to still access your funds. You just won't be able to trade. So they're not going to cut you off. You can still access your funds, right? You can take them off, but you're not going to be able to trade. Now, hopefully, they're saying that maybe by this point, he says Binance will not be seen anymore as a tainted operator and will become stronger than ever. This is a critical moment for the industry, so maybe by the time that they're actually looking to kick U.S. citizens out, maybe we won't have to. Maybe they'll figure out a way to become compliant in 3 months, although the way that this dinosaur moves, being the US and the SEC and this whole regulatory compliance movement, whatever the heck we're trying to solve over here, well, we probably would assume that's not going to happen. So here's the thing. Our non-verified, I should say, U.S. customers still going to be likely to use Binance. Don't forget, Binance does offer up to 2 Bitcoin with a non-KYC account, so technically you could just sign up, and as long as you're not trading more than 2 Bitcoin, then Binance doesn't care, right? Because they're registered over with Malta. But the question is, are they now going to require KYC for everything? Are they going to get rid of the 2 Bitcoin limit? And is Binance going to just make everything fully KYC? I don't know. But the interesting thing is you could see right here, if you have a look, now they're claiming that there's estimated that over 40 million people visit Binance in just the last 6 months from the US. You can see right here, it absolutely blows every other country out of the water. Now, the statistic right here says that Binance gets approximately 15% of traffic coming from the US. I think it's a lot higher than that. Personally, I just think it's a lot of U.S. citizens that aren't registered with KYC, because you can see right here, just simply looking at, looking at IP addresses, unless they're hiding them, you can see that the U.S. is clearly blowing them out of the water, followed by India, which is interesting with everything that's been going on with them over there as well, right? So here it is, Binance.us. Great, so we have nothing to worry about. We're going to have our own US exchange, guys. We can trade on Binance.us. They're claiming that it's going to have liquidity. This is awesome. I can't wait for this. You know who did this too? Huobi. You guys remember HBus? Does anybody use HBus? Because according to this, they only do 5.7 billion US dollars, which is around 692 Bitcoin daily. That is absolutely nothing. To put that into perspective, if we check what Binance is doing 2.2 billion. Okay, I know some of it may be wash traded, although don't forget they are on the top 10 trusted exchanges. So 2.2 billion versus 6.3 billion. Well, let's see what coins they have, okay? Let's scroll down here. So we have, let's see these pairs here. So what can we trade? Oh, first of all, by the way, guys, if you're a New York citizen, you can't trade on HBus, and I would assume that they'll probably do the same thing for Binance as well. But let's see what coins we could trade on HBus. Cardano, Bitcoin Cash, Bitcoin, Dash, Dogecoin, Data, Elastos, Ethereum Classic, Lisk, Litecoin, Nebulous, Ontology, Project Pi, Qtum, Steam, Stellar, Monero, XRP, Zcash, 0x, and that's it. That's it, guys. That's all you're going to be able to trade. Why do you think you go over to Coinbase? You can only trade a handful of coins over at Coinbase. And if you're in certain jurisdictions like USD, well, guess what? We can't trade 0x. We can't trade basic attention token, right? So that's something that I just wanted to point out moving forward, guys. And, the other thing, too, is talking about these altcoins, I want to have a little bit of a philosophical discussion here real quick and ask you guys how you feel about this, because this just solidifies to me more and more and more why Bitcoin remains king, okay? Bitcoin is truly decentralized. Bitcoin can't get shut down, but these other altcoins, look at this red. Look at this red. I mean, you have some green popping in once in a while, but would you not agree that this is mostly red behind me, especially in these top coins, especially in these top projects, okay? So they are definitely feeling the pain, guys. And this is exactly why you have to be careful with these altcoins. They're not decentralized. Most of them are centralized, very centralized. The foundations, the team, they own most of them most of the time, right? They can be regulated. They could be shut down. They have an office that, an official can go to and shut the project down. That is not the case with Bitcoin. And once again, not to get back to the philosophical point, but this is exactly why Bitcoin will survive. You cannot shut it down. It's impossible. If I have my 24 words, I put them in my head, I can get on a plane, go to another country, go on to blockchain.com, go on, enter them, and get my funds back, okay? But these exchanges shutting down, making it difficult for people, not only is it going to affect it? But can I be honest? Let's talk about this a little bit more, because it's interesting what some other people have to say. Now, why are they doing this? Why is this happening? This is the answer. Right here, we had the G20, okay? Now, they had put out a statement. Now, stay with me on this one because I'm getting to something bigger here. They said technological innovations, including those underlying crypto assets, can deliver significant benefits to the financial system and the broader economy. While crypto assets do not pose a threat to global financial stability, at this point, we remain vigilant to risks, including those related to the consumer and investor protection, anti-money laundering, and countering the financing of terrorism. All right, now, what does this all mean? Well, it means that on June 21st, which is very, 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 very close, the Financial Action Task Force will published a note clarifying how participating nations should exercise oversight for digital assets in the sector. The new rules will likely apply to a wide gamut of business dealings with cryptocurrencies and tokens, including crypto exchanges, custodians, and crypto hedge funds. So, the FATF has developed a series of recommendations recognized as the international standard for combating money laundering and the financing of illicit activities. These recommendations are used by around 200 countries globally, including the United States. And if you're wondering how this is going to affect you specifically, well, Bloomberg reports that the FATF rules are expected to require, and here you go, firms ranging from major spot exchanges such as Coinbase to asset managers like Fidelity Investments to gather data on all clients initiating transactions worth over $1,000 or $1,000 or 1,000 euros. So guys, long story short now, if you're doing any type of transaction over $1,000, you are going to have all of your data reported. They will be asked to provide data on the recipients of the funds and share that data with the recipient's own service provider, together with data on each transaction. They may even potentially issue these IBAN strips. Each individual transaction will have its own code, almost like a barcode, right, down to the individual transaction. I mean, what a draconian 1984 kind of world are we headed towards, guys? So in a comment, Jeff Horowitz, Chief Compliance Officer at Coinbase, argued that applying bank regulations to this industry could drive more people to conduct person-to-person transactions, which would result in less transparency for law enforcement. And I want to ask you right now, what do you think about this? Because guys, we know how it goes, right? The war on terror brought more terror, right? The war on drugs brought more drugs. So is the war on, being able to transmit your money freely going to just sort of bring more people into the space? Is it going to encourage more people to buy Bitcoin? Or maybe even potentially privacy coins, or just encourage more people to switch to P2P transactions? I mean, you even saw what they're doing on local Bitcoins now, saying you can't do cash. I mean, come on, guys. This is the whole point. This is solidifying exactly why we got into this space in the first place, to get away from these guys, to get away from this control. This, to me, is the most bullish news I've ever heard for Bitcoin. And it's making me want to go buy more Bitcoin and get farther and farther and farther away from this traditional system, guys. And I have no problem against altcoins, but I'll tell you what, if any of this stuff gets put into effect, the altcoins are going to be the ones to feel the pain. Now, obviously, does that mean that altcoins are going to go to zero? No, because we still have the rest of the world, but this is definitely going to create some short-term turbulence, and I'd be interested to see how this is going to play out, okay? Now, what have I done? Basically, I haven't done anything really at all, except watch my Bitcoin percentage increase as my altcoins are bleeding. I'm glad that I've been over 50%. Actually, I was 55% yesterday, and now I'm 60% in Bitcoin because my altcoins are taking a hit today, right? So that's basically that situation. But what I've done is I've actually registered for Beaxy exchange. I'm not saying it's going to replace Binance, but I do remember when Bittrex was starting to do this, that was why a lot of people had switched over to Binance. And it looks like these guys, even though they do have KYC, they look like they're going to be a little more US friendly. They do have their own token. And this isn't like sponsored, by the way. I'm just like literally just bringing this up because I'm talking about the fact that if Binance does continue to create it difficult for US citizens, then we may look for another platform. And Beaxy or Beaxy, I don't know how you pronounce it, they look like they may be the next guys to do it. We have to see. I don't know. They just got started. They're brand new, but they do have their own token like the BNB token as well. And, we've seen what happened with the BNB token. So side note, that could be a good, not financial advice, but keep your eyes on it. But yeah, so this is I registered for this because I don't know what's going to happen. I can't trade on Bittrex anymore now because I'm New York. Now I can't trade on Binance anymore. So we'll see what happens. I've been able to successfully register on Beaxy as a New York citizen. So they're cool with that. So that's cool. So if you guys are interested, I do have a link below. It is a referral link. You don't have to use it, guys. Obviously, I have it if you want to sign up. But you don't have to, but that's what I'm doing. And I've just set up an account here just in case, things start to get real crazy with Binance. I mean, don't forget, even Binance's DEX is not really even technically a DEX because even that DEX blocks you, right? If your API shows, or not your API, excuse me, if your IP address shows that you're from, a blocked jurisdiction. And I think currently Binance DEX is blocking up to 28 jurisdictions. So I think number one, this shows why we need a true DEX for real, like an actual DEX that everyone is gonna use. I like iDEX, but even that I have to use a VPN. So tough times, difficult times, guys. And also speaking of someone who is not very happy with everything that's been going on, is John McAfee. He says, all I wanted to do was left alone. I paid tens of millions of dollars in taxes and received only the condescension of federal employees when I needed services. In return, I chose to pay no more. This is my crime. You should have left me alone. And you can see right here, this is the issue with the U.S. I love the U.S. I love living in this country. It's a great country. I have 5G. It's not like difficult to get food or get a job, right, or whatever. But yeah, there are some things that suck at the same time. And you could see that John McAfee said that if he's not left alone, he will unload his treasure trove of documents to the public exposing corruption within the U.S. state. He already posted the name of a corrupt CIA agent and 2 Bohemian officials who have allegedly taken bribes and been involved in drug trafficking. He released this information to prove that he was serious. He then went on a tweet storm and talked about having 31 terabytes of incriminating information, and all of it would be released if, for whatever reason, he disappeared. And he actually put out this video, which has not only been circulating in the cryptocurrency community, but I've also seen it circulating in like other niche communities as well, like conspiracies exposing like governments and corruption and just like literally, I mean, this video has been everywhere. I've even seen it on like super like hippie, like peace and love type pages. It's going viral, but I want to play it. If you haven't seen it, if you have seen it, feel free to skip past it. But this is basically what he had to say. So let me just put this back here and put the volume up, and you could hear what John had to say.
Speaking out against governments is a dangerous occupation and makes many enemies. I've been doing this my entire life with beliefs, the United States mostly, the SEC, the IRS, many other agencies of the U.S. government are corrupt. I will be proving this. I've been speaking out against America for over 25 years. For the past 2 years, I've been speaking out about nothing else. I've been talking about ways that people can avoid income taxes by using cryptocurrency, because income taxes, in my mind, and it should be in yours, are illegal and unconstitutional. What has happened is the government has been trying unsuccessfully until this year to find ways to silence me without shooting me or kidnapping me or something, and I assure you that that is probably in their minds now. But I will not be silenced.
So there's about a minute left of the video. I'm not going to play the whole thing. You can look into it, but you could see that this is a theme. This is what people are feeling. And there was that libertarian movement that you could actually argue really helped to push Bitcoin to the forefront in the first place, right? So I just wanted to bring it up, point it out. We know John can get a little crazy sometimes, but it's definitely a feeling of having your rights almost taken away in a sense, like it just doesn't seem fair. Just doesn't feel right? So enough of that. But if you want to continue down this draconian path of things, how about this to just add some salt in the wounds? PayPal, MasterCard, Visa, Stripe, and Uber will be among over a dozen companies that are investing approximately $10 million each to back Facebook's new cryptocurrency. Announced in the Wall Street Journal, the companies will join a consortium to govern the token. Facebook's global holding registered Libra Networks in Switzerland as a financial technology company focusing on blockchain and payments as well as data analytics and investing. Laura McCracken, Facebook's head of financial services and payment partnerships for Northern Europe, recently confirmed that a white paper will be released on June 18th. So that is enough of that, guys. Let's talk about some good news and then let's get on out of here because it is Friday, and regardless of everything that's happening right now, it still is the weekend and we need to enjoy ourselves. So yes, you guys know, Chainlink pumped. Massive Chainlink pump yesterday. They said, we're thrilled to share that Google is one of the great companies integrating Chainlink into their approach to smart contract adoption. And I'm just going to say, guys, if you guys remember the video I put out the day before, if you guys were watching carefully, I kind of tipped you off on it, but let's just play it again. I'm just letting you guys know. Now let's get into the markets. I was looking at Chainlink this morning, actually, because I had a feeling it was going to pop, and it's up 3 cents. So look at that. Look at that. That was a pretty good guess. So guys, I had my eyes on Chainlink and we were talking about it. So I obviously I say not financial advice on this channel, but I do hope that some of you out there had an opportunity to scoop some up. So that's all I'm saying. But Ready Set Crypto pointed out, read, don't FOMO. It's not a partnership, even if it's cool. It's from a developer advocate at Google, a position which is basically just marketing to developers, saying anyone running a Chainlink node can integrate BigQuery, which is a Google service. So I'm not taking a stance either way, but I don't want to overpump something if we're blowing the news out of proportion, but I don't want to fudge something if the news, genuinely is good news. So the way that I take it right now is I think that we may be a little bit little bit overexcited over this, but at the same time, I still think it's good news. So that's my stance on it. You may have a different opinion. Let me know how you feel about it in the comments below. We also have crypto.com. Congratulations. They were awarded with the blue verified badge, given only when an account is determined to be an account of public interest. So congratulations moving forward. Also, there are some rumors about Cardano and shoes, and I think it was because of this clip right here.
Now getting to a stage where people are able to build real things, real companies solving real problems with partnerships. We're working with a major sneaker company on something. We're working with governments. Mongolia, we talked about.
So that was literally it. When he said we're working with a major sneaker company, that's actually what everyone is freaking out about. So I just saved you the trouble and I found it in the video. That was it. That's literally it. Also, before we go, crypto payments firm Bitwage says employers can now use its platform to pay their workers in Ether. So this means that workers anywhere in the US can now receive any percentage of their wages in Ether. Employees, freelancers, and independent contractors can receive from any client within the US, EU, or UK. Also, companies that want to offer tax and HR compliant Ether benefits can sign up to offer it as a benefit to employees. So that's some good news, right? It's not all bad news, guys. And finally, of course, Bakkt. I saved it for the end. I put it at the back. I put Bakkt at the back. So they say, this came out from COO, Adam White, and he says that on July 22nd, 2 days after Apollo 11's 50th anniversary, Bakkt will initiate user acceptance testing for its Bitcoin futures listed and traded at ICE Futures US and cleared at ICE. So this is good, and the reason that I like this is because it is physically settled futures, so at the end of the contract, you do not receive cash, you receive Bitcoin. So we take 2 steps forward, we take a step back. What are you going to do, guys? It's crypto. That's the news for today. Not a lot of good stuff to talk about today outside of just Bitcoin pumping. Still kind of hanging out above that line, so we're going to keep an eye on it. At least the volume's picking up. The volume was really low this morning, and that was kind of concerning me, but at least the volume's picking up. That's a good thing. So no more doom and gloom, guys. Also, hey, remember how we were talking about Bitcoin pumping?